Welcome to the Medium Rare Podcast. We're doing WWE.
In case you didn't know, if you didn't read.
Yeah, if you didn't read the title, we're doing the WWE. So I had to introduce us that way.
You have to introduce us
Weighing in as a collect. What did they say when it's a tag team? Collective weight.
Collective. Yeah, it's like a collective.
Weighing in at a combined weight.
Combined weight. A lot
of pounds. We've
Medium
got
Rare Podcast.
Brett Owens, Alex DiToronto.
Okay.
No, don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Tucker Moss
By God, he killed him.
and Sahil
The Asian Invasion.
Gulani.
That's me.
This is the hill of the Asian invasion. Kulani.
I gave him time to say it. I'm Brett the Threat Owens then.
Brett the Threat.
I like that.
Actually, my wrestling name is Recut Psalm. It's just my name backwards.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's it.
Tucker Recut Some Moss.
Xander Alexander.
Tucker Moss backwards.
Man.
Moss.
And then Alex, what's yours?
Xander Alexander, the French-Canadian Nightmare.
Okay.
That's too long.
And a paragraph that I do not choose to read.
That guy.
This
That guy.
Anyways.
He's just paid talent. He's just paid
You
talent.
had a tweet.
Oh, this shit made me laugh so hard. It's by @Jleon.
Nice. Good name.
I remember when I was a kid.
I'm glad your mom named you that.
I remember when I was a kid, I could go to the store with $1 and come home with 3 bags of chips, 2 candy bars, 6-pack of Starburst, and a cold drink. Nowadays, they got cameras everywhere.
I was gonna say, dog, what store you going to?
All right.
So this isn't the 30s.
Remember to like.
This isn't the 30s.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you're a part of our video audience. If you're a part of our podcast audience on Apple, give us a review. We're also on Spotify now. I don't know if we've said that.
Yes. Subscribe to us, please.
We're on Spotify for anybody who is not on Apple. Give us a review.
If you do 5 stars, we will read some.
5 stars.
We
yes.
might kiss you.
Hygienist22 said, no cap. She put 4 hearts on it.
No hat.
Or he. I don't know. I just assumed someone's gender, dude.
Really?
No, it's because we know her. That's all right.
No, we don't know her. This is a random fan, dog.
Yeah, we don't plan this.
We got so many fans. It's like you acting like we planned this like I wrote it down or something.
Yeah.
Literally the funniest podcast ever. So we love you, Takesha. Hygienist22. Shout out.
Shout out to hygienists.
TY.
Shout out to Hygienist. We didn't get any shout outs last week.
I was gonna do one, but I
Shout out to being in the 8th grade.
Honestly, not shout out to hygienists, because every hygienist I've had, they've been like, hey, you don't floss, man.
Yeah, they
like,
lots of
come on,
dental
man.
hygienists.
they just cut your gums with a knife, and then they're like,
You haven't been flossing enough.
Yeah, I haven't been flossing. That's why you're
Why
bleeding.
you bleeding?
You know the water flossers they have?
Yeah.
I bought one of them for $3.
Water pigs?
Bussin' $3. You know how I get all these good deals? I be lurking for good deals. We got these mics for $6.
That is true.
You guys got any good deals?
If you guys are ever wondering why the mic is like inside of our mouth, it's because these are $6 mics.
They're originally 30. They reach
Actually, mine was 30.
You got to be
'cause I
real
missed out.
close. Huh?
Rip.
Mine was 30 because I missed out.
Right. He missed out on
I
that.
told y'all.
on
I was
the
like,
sale.
buy these mics.
Yeah, I was late.
Oh, speaking of like hygienists and like medical stuff, I had the flu, and that shit was terrible.
Yeah.
But
You looked dead in
really,
every photograph.
Dog, it really do be like that.
No, like okay. The problem was I went to the doctors. I was like, and Tucker can relate because he just had his wisdom teeth pulled out, so he was also hurting, and we was hurting at the same time. So some brotherly love. But
into the fucking mic.
Thank you.
damn, bro, you could have said that so much nicer. But it's alright.
I only have said it 20 times. This is the 20th time, so you don't get it nice anymore.
So this is Medium Rare Podcast.
Just Brett.
Welcome to
bullying me.
episode 12.
No. All right.
Anyway.
Whale. Went to the doctors.
Yeah.
She said I might not have the flu test came back negative, which it has like a 20% margin of error. So
There's
she was
so many
like,
strands.
I'm not going to test you again, but you look like you have the flu, so just take some Motrin. And then
That's it.
I was like, "What about the drugs?" I was
said,
like, "I
"Bitch,"
feel terrible."
He said, "Bitch, where?"
I was like, "Where the drugs at?" And then I wasn't feeling better. So I showed up like 2 days later. I'm like, I feel terrible.
Hey,
Looky
bitch,
here,
you
Miss
was
Doctor.
wrong.
Oh, and then so I was like, can I have I was like, I hate to say this, but can I have a different doctor? And they gave me one, and he said, yeah, you have the flu, bud. And he gave me lots of drugs.
Oh, word. So like what I told the lady before, and she said I have a half a flu or some shit.
Half a flu.
And then I got Tamiflu and codeine to sleep, and
What?
Man, your doctor gave you codeine.
I know, bro. I
What?
finessed the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even cough the whole time.
Sick.
I was just like,
Woe is me.
He was like, oh, you got a cough? I was like, yeah.
Here's some codeine. Gets home.
Yeah, I'm
Sprite,
sick.
Codeine. I'm sick.
Jolly Ranchers.
This is my medicine.
I was like, in case the people who are listening to this like don't know, lean is a concoction made with a soda. Often used is Sprite, Mountain Dew, very rare Mountain Dew,
Sierra Mist if you're really feeling.
or a
classy.
LaCroix if
You're
you're
a
just
Pepsi.
like on
Ooh.
that diet grind.
All right.
And you put in the syrup.
Just
It's
taste codeine the whole way. It's
Yeah,
just
so-
carbonated codeine.
originally it was by this company,
Nothing wrong with
Activist. That was the purple. Activist got discontinued because too many people were using it recreationally.
Sahil's about to lose his prescription to codeine. He will never have codeine again.
they don't know
giving
that.
out the
They don't know
So
ingredients.
wait, aren't you on that podcast talking about codeine?
Oh yeah, I'm one of your 6 listeners. and-
Yeah. Hey,
Funny you would know.
so you can get it in purple, red, orange, and
Moving
a lot
on.
of the home brews come in green too. So-
Home brews?
yeah, no, people literally are making
They
it
got
in
a
their bathtub.
brewery.
Yeah, no, in their bathtub brewery.
It's like
you
a.
made it sound like it was a professional business.
They have copper cauldrons that they're just beating.
It's like mead. It's like mead. They're like.
And
the
so
Vikings drink it.
that's the story of why I'm not allowed in
Codeine.
Walgreens anymore. but so just to finish this, they mix the syrup, usually 4 to 8 ounces, depending on how strong their tolerance is, and they put it in the soda.
Dude, you know way too much about this.
And then they put some Jolly Ranchers in it
You're
just for
scaring
added
me.
taste. So yeah,
Put them at the bottom,
And color.
actually.
that's your culturing for the day.
Jeez. Well,
That's a good start.
yeah, I
We
guess-
just taught you how
I
to make
guess
lean.
I guess we jumped into the personal stories segment. Does Tucker and Alex want to go?
I have.
Do you know? You have something else?
No. You said does Tucker or Alex want to go? And it's dude.
Oh, you want to fight? Okay.
I do. I have a story.
Oh,
It's more of a soapbox story. I'm just gonna complain. So
okay.
pretty cool. So at work, we have had some people decide to quit recently.
Me too.
Which I mean, you can do. Yeah, you recently too. You can do whatever you want.
Was it like
You
a
have-
rage quit or because of school?
No, it just other opportunities.
Oh, okay.
But it's more of like within a 6-day period. And there's a couple had quit and a couple had some stuff with their schedule mess up. So one of the guys just quit. Just felt like he wasn't making enough money, which it just happens. It be like that.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
really,
Dude.
really
But plus,
do
you
be
know, like
like
I
that.
understand. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Just how it goes. The other guy decided that he was going to go work at a dealership, sell cars, which good on you. He was able to, he said didn't do any studying or whatever to get the job. He just bullshitted the interview.
I think I know
If you can-
exactly who you're
if
talking
you can
about.
bullshit the interview to work at a car dealership, I mean, I guess that's pretty good because then you can bullshit your way to selling a car.
Yeah,
So
I did
good
that.
on you.
I did that.
I've bullshitted my way through like 3 positions in the
I've
past
bullshitted
year.
my way through my whole
Life.
life.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I'm talking about specifically
Same.
at a car dealership, but it didn't work out anyways. I didn't. Want to
You
do it.
apply. You went. You.
I was gonna do that before I went to the post office. That was my plan. Easy way to make $100K a year. But continue.
Yeah.
100K?
Really.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
can make some money if you will commission. If you can sell
Sahil
cars.
just got an investment idea.
He just quit the podcast. He's going to go sell cars now.
Damn.
I'm about
Bye,
to-
guys.
I'm about to buy a used car dealership.
Man, I'd be jumping job like crazy the past year.
My man's invested in so many businesses.
But there's another lady, which, I mean, it's completely fine. Like, all these people do whatever you want. It's good. One of the other ladies that just started working with us recently, she can only work on Sundays now. Another lady just had a baby, so she can't work. It's just stuff has happened. So it's like I've had to work a lot more recently. Like, I actually had to work today. Whenever we set to film, I had course, I had to work, so it just messes up the flow of things because usually this day is when I'm off.
I feel
So-
that.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
It
it
throws
throws
me
off
through.
your vibe.
It throws, yeah, because I woke up and I was like, it feels like a Monday or something like that, because I usually would be off and then I would work, and then so I'm like what is, I don't know. But so that's why I'm complaining, which I feel like I can't talk right now. It feels really weird. These stitches still haven't fallen out of my mouth from the surgery.
I feel like it's getting worse.
I know. I don't know, and I don't
I didn't notice
understand.
it
Yeah, I didn't understand.
last
Like just
week.
right now, like it's like
Is that your personal?
that's another one too.
You have another one?
No, like I'm just complaining again about this too. But no, I'm good. Like that was my soapbox. Two things: can't talk, and I'm working a lot, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Sure. I mean, I was gonna go right after Sahil because mine does kind of relate to drugs in a way.
No.
My dad told me about when he was working at the psych ward. I mentioned I'd probably tell this later, but he was working at a psych ward up in New York for a while. There was a lot of doinky folk up there,
Noise.
all with severe mental issues, either had been violent in the past or not.
Mhm.
But they were all just really, I thought when he told me that, I was like, okay, I need to know all these stories. And he was like, I mean, nothing too crazy happened. Most people were just really drugged up. But it's weird when you find out like what they did to get there.
Wait, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah, go
is
ahead.
it like jail or
Essentially.
Sort of, yeah.
It's like a more open, chill jail, but everyone's on drugs.
because when I think of
Everybody
the places
in
like
there-
that, I think of like padded white walls.
That's like worst case scenario.
That's like a
That's
mental
when
ward.
you get in trouble.
Oh, okay.
That's like a mental ward.
That's where they
Right.
send you when you get in
Well,
trouble
that's
there.
what he's talking about. But yeah, no, I mentioned in the October episodes that I went to a psych ward, and it was terrifying. I was in a room with another student and a teacher, and like 12 murderers. Would have never known.
Hey, how are you? I killed people.
Killed my mom. I ate her, so she's a part of me now. But how are you? What was your day like?
She's a part of me forever.
Yeah.
Well, until I take shit.
You mentioned that some woman was convinced she was married to Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay, so some woman was convinced that she was married to my dad,
Uh-oh.
and she was just like, "You're my husband. Like, why are you cheating on me?"
Oh, really?
Stop seeing
Because
her.
no, I'm fucking not.
He was just kind of like,
He didn't go along with it, like a role play kind of thing. Or?
Uh-oh.
my dad isn't.
Man, that's real kinky.
Ugh, with just a whole other woman.
That's not role play to her though.
No,
She's in it for
only a
real.
scene for you.
She's in it for real.
Oh
No,
no.
but she was just
poor
convinced
thing.
that he was
Bless her heart.
her husband, and so she just tried to follow him around. And I don't know. I guess you kind of get kind of lonesome in an area like that.
Yeah.
So she was very driven towards the good-looking Italian man.
Dude, and your dad has the most beautiful white beard. And
Yeah.
there is a nice square jaw under that beautiful white beard.
Indeed,
too.
a
You
square
got a handsome dad.
Italian boy.
That's
I
a
have
good.
genes.
That's a good dad. That's a good looking dad.
I give that dad a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
9
dad.
out of 10 dad. By the way, speaking of dads, next week's episode, I'm gonna have my dad on since we're talking about WWE. He's
Yay.
the WWE
Nice.
extraordinaire.
Okay.
So be on the lookout.
Yeah, be on the lookout for that.
I could have had my grandpa on, but he don't speak a lick of English.
He likes WWE.
Get him on.
he,
You can translate.
we'll Skype him. Yeah.
Okay.
You can translate.
Man,
for
but
him.
my man fucking loves WWE. Like
Yeah.
religious. Yeah.
So he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
speak any English. So is it dubbed?
No, he just enjoys like the fighting. And he
Watching
knows
it.
all their names. Like he knows all of them. He just doesn't speak English. I mean, you can pick up names and shit.
Right. Yeah, everyone, whenever I was in Argentina for a while,
Mm-hmm.
all the kids knew about Roman Reigns and what was the other guy?
Shout out Roman Reigns.
Yeah, shout out Roman Reigns when you're
He
leukemia.
really needs it.
He needs
Yes.
a big shout out.
I think my
Yeah.
grandpa's favorite was like Kofi Kingston.
Oh, OG stuff.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
pre-Jamaican Kofi Kingston or like New Day?
My
Kofi
dad
Kingston?
hated Kofi Kingston.
Because you know he used to fake
hated
being
him.
Jamaican.
Anyway, sorry.
But
We're-
that's
we're-
tangent.
let's
We'll get into
back-
that. We'll get into that.
Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah.
You were talking about your dad at the psych ward. Was that all?
Just really that. Like, just a lot of strange, like, well, that was one case, but also, like, more women.
A lot of women thought they were married to your dad?
Yes.
Dude.
Man, he's like a polygamist.
Slay
He
it,
is
bro.
drowning in that.
But here's
Mentally disturbed pussy.
here's the real
That's really
question,
wrong,
though.
Rudy.
I'm sorry, Brett's mom. I'm sorry.
I
you
know.
had to hear me
My
say
mom's
that.
the only one that's just like, this is too much for me.
I turned this episode off
Can
one
you
star.
turn down the volume for a minute? We'll let them get through that.
Here's the question, though. So with all the women there at the facility, though, did they all know? They all thought that?
Did they fight over your dad?
Did
is
they
what he's
fight?
asking.
Basically,
Oh.
did they all like?
Not
he's
that
my
I know of.
husband.
Not that, not that I know.
Speaking of the WWE, just all those women fighting. Okay, sorry. Just imagining like
where'd you go?
Tucker
I,
just.
don't know. I was wondering where that was going. I saw it.
No, I was just thinking about a big ring in the middle of the psych ward, and they're all fighting over
Man.
your dad's honor.
That would
Them
get a-
WWE ladies is like good looking.
Ladies.
Giant.
those women,
Those women are good women.
good women. 10 out of 10 women.
10 out of 10
Man, I
women.
want to tell you guys something though, like off topic.
Yeah.
Like, you know how Tuck was talking about how his vibe was thrown off by him having to work. I had to show up to Saturday class yesterday.
Rip.
6 hours long. But I only have to show up twice, so it's not terrible.
Yeah.
The people in that class are fucking weird. The guy who
Well, it was a Saturday morning.
he's 9 to 3, yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to class on a Saturday morning,
Well, they have to, but I mean,
nah.
And so I show up, and last time I didn't have to sit next to this guy, but this time it was like the only seat available because your boy showed up like 3 minutes late.
Rip.
like, oh, jeez.
Okay, let me describe
Gosh.
this kid to you.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
He teaches and participates in Taekwondo,
All right. So
and
he can whoop.
Does
So
he
you
wear
can
kimono?
kick your ass.
No, he cannot kick my ass. He was
Yeah.
he was not. He didn't look
Fight
very
him.
physically
Fight him.
adequate.
While you were late for school, I was studying the blade.
I was training. And no, fun fact, he also sells Molly on the side, which he was telling
Alright.
the kid next to him.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He opens his kimono and it's all the Molly.
and it's a first aid / emergency class, which I'm just taking for the extra credit.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he
I had to take that.
he was so damn excited about it because he was like, "Man, I carry around this first aid pouch everywhere. It's a fucking backpack, by the way.
Alright.
I carried this around
He's
everywhere
got like a
I
safety
go."
raft
He's
in
like,
it.
he's like, I finally get to use it, and he's like opening up his bag and showing me all the first aid equipment he has
finally
in
get
there.
to use it.
He was like, "Look at those gloves. They're latex." And he was like, "Look at all these
Look
God's
at those
masks."
gloves.
That sounds like Kevin.
oh,
And then when Kevin microwaves like a cheeseburger he got out of the vending machine at work, he's like, "Dude, check this out. You would not believe what I've got to eat for lunch. You see that? That's prime rib patty right there.
Can I tell you something?
Whole wheat bun, cheddar cheese infused burger."
I now work with Kevin and Brett and Dan, and I can second everything that he says about Kevin now. Kevin, I actually like you,
Kevin listens.
but you do have some very strange habits.
He really do.
he's a 30-year-old man who carries himself like a 6-year-old.
I asked him if he did drugs when he was younger.
And he was like, "Oh yeah." Of course. Like any of us were surprised.
I was buying and eating the weed all the time.
He's just like, I don't know. You get a bag of it and you're just like, I don't know. Is this right? And he's
The
just
kid who
eating
bought a bag of grass.
it. Yeah, he's eating rosemary.
Dude, 30 a G. Dude, that's a fucking steal.
Oh god.
Either way, this kid, man, he was so excited about being in there. So I'm not going to ruin that for him. But it's dead silent because we're taking like the Red Cross test. He pulls out a fucking honey bun. And that's not even the worst part, Kevin.
honey buns are good. That's not a bad
It's
thing.
it's so fucking loud.
Are you sure you weren't in class with Kevin?
It was so loud. Like we're taking the exam, like the final exam.
Oh god.
Here's a crinkle.
All I hear is
Yeah. Kevin would have like those compost bags that are loud, and if he was in a silent situation, he's like, "Hey, is it okay if I get my snacks out?" No, that's fine. And he'll just sit there and wing it out, loudly and slowly open it and just dump it on the table on a paper towel or something.
And then he downed it with a Diet Dr. Pepper, and I was just like, all right.
Gotta watch my.
And he
figure.
opened it so loud too. It was like,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, it's a fucking exam.
Can you relax,
Have some
sir?
respect.
I was like, yeah, that was it. I was just real upset about having to be
I'm
there.
trying to save someone's life here. All right.
Anyway,
Congrats.
what do you want to talk about? Jewel going out of
Oh,
business?
I just think like, okay,
Rip.
so I don't really have a heavy stance on, gun control. Obviously, I believe that, guns shouldn't be so excessive.
Are we talking
no,
about
no.
Jules?
I want to talk
Yeah, I was
about this
about to
for one
say,
second
I know.
because the way I have a gun and I bought it legally, but I don't approve of the way I bought it
Okay.
because in my eyes, an 18-year-old with no background check shouldn't be able to have a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys kind of on board with that?
Okay.
I get you.
So I bought it through a private sale.
Okay. You didn't have a background check?
No,
Oh,
you don't.
wait, then that's the thing.
You don't need it
Yeah.
for a private sale, which it's very edgy. But so this week they banned jewel pods, but I can still buy a gun without a background check. So I just want to point that out.
Why are they banning jewel pods?
They think
It's marketing to kids.
think
Right.
it's marketing to kids, but they
Is
No, that's what I'm saying. They think
Yeah.
it's marketing to kids. It's not.
It's not marketing to kids,
Look,
but
cigarettes don't taste good, but little kids are still going to smoke them
yeah.
because they think it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think most
Not
kids.
so much anymore.
Yeah, I
It's
was
more
like, I think
vape
most
now.
kids vape and.
I mean, I
Juul.
know there are kids that smoke. I'm not saying that there's not.
Maybe where y'all grew up, there's a lot of kids smoking cigs,
No.
There were when I was in high school.
I mean,
and there still are. Like
for
you'd
sure.
be surprised.
But
yeah.
like, kids don't dip. Like when I was when I went to
Yes.
school. No.
Yes,
no.
they
I'm
do.
gonna say kids don't dip because it tastes good. Is what I'm about to say. Kids do dip, even though it tastes horrible.
dude, I know this girl that goes to Georgia Tech, and she was
I
like,
guess when you first started, it doesn't taste good, but a lot of people would probably beg to differ. I don't know. I never dipped.
yeah, this girl I know that goes to Georgia Tech. She was like, yeah, I just wanted to catch a buzz,
Yee
so
yee?
I dipped, and I was like,
It's the most disgusting.
that is the most
thing.
yee. Can I get a yee yee in the chat,
Yee
please?
yee.
she's not yee yee though. Like
Yee.
I
she used
saw-
to be attractive in my eyes.
I was telling Sahil there was a tweet that said, "Can somebody describe to me the difference between a cowboy and a redneck?" And it said, "Well, some yeehaws yee yee, but not all yee yees yeehaw." And then somebody said, "Why do I understand this post?"
Dude, there
Is it
was
wrong?
something.
Growing up
They're
in the
not
South.
wrong. They're not wrong.
It's not wrong.
There was the best thing on Twitter the other day. The best thing. There's this lady. I'm not gonna mention her name or anything, but she was defending herself. She's relatively famous, I guess you could say, and she was accused of being racist, which she is, but she didn't know she was being racist.
Right.
So she pulled up like her ancestry report,
Oh no.
and she had 0.5% African,
Oh no.
and she was like, to all of you calling me a racist white woman, think again. Got my DNA results. I'm 0.5% African. I guess that makes me a victim too.
Oh!
And the worst part is she said maybe I should apply for some benefits and complain about being marginalized. And she's claiming she's not racist, and I lost my damn mind.
That wasn't meant to be racist.
Sorry.
No. Who is this?
Her name, I guess I can expose her.
Can you
'cause she's a
oust her?
cunt.
Because-
yeah, DC McAllister. She's famous for some reason.
Okay, r/whoosh.
For being racist.
Well, now, yes.
Like Ann Coulter.
Dear God.
Dude, what?
DC McAllister. Let's see. I'm googling her.
DC McAllister.
She's an author of this book called The Federalist.
Of Uncle Tom's Cabin. She's the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin. Okay,
She-
I guess my historians here don't.
She's already had to go into hiding once because of rape/death threats. So, man, she is living an edgy lifestyle.
Sorry, mommy.
Jeez. Well, Samuel Little. You guys wanted to talk about him? Local, or not local? Is he local?
Well,
Tuck, you know more
technically-
about this story.
Technically, it is a little local because there are cases like that we had talked about.
Yeah, there were
before,
2 Georgia unsolved murder cases
that were able to be closed.
But he murdered all over the country.
Based off of his, so basically he just said like, yeah, I did.
This isn't somebody we've talked about that was like not like the Atlanta Ripper. Or
No,
anything.
no. This is
Whoa,
just recent.
what if though?
That's what
No,
I
because
was-
the
that's why
Atlanta
I
Ripper
thought-
was like.
and this
before
guy
he
would
was
have
born.
confessed to it too.
Yeah.
That's what I just assumed. Why you sent it? One of y'all sent it was because we had talked about it on the show.
No, so Hilton a little bit ago, but so his name is Samuel Little, and he was convicted in 2014 for, slaying 3 women in California in the late 80s. So he was still like on the run for almost 30 years, and then he finally
So
got caught.
they knew that he did that. And
that one, they knew he did
Those
that
three.
one. Those
And then
3 in
he ad-
California.
and then he
And then
admitted.
he admitted that he did.
as he's on the run,
This is what he said. So he provided authorities from across the nation with information about more than 90 murders committed over some 30 years.
Yeah,
So it's like
he's a
between-
serial killer.
Body count.
It was between 1970 and 2005, and all the states were Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, New
okay,
Mexico,
just the whole United
Ohio,
States.
and South Carolina. Like,
Anywhere
literally,
where
he was-
there's a McDonald's, like we could.
he killed
Yeah,
someone.
yeah.
So I mean, that's just what he says. You know, he did confirm he did the one in the 80s in California. That he did get in trouble for, those 3 women. But so he's admitted, like, he provided information to solve them. So
Okay, so
It's not
he,
saying
he got
all- I mean-
arrested. He got arrested for the 3 women and then confessed to the rest.
Yes.
The good thing about this, not that there's anything good about this, but the good thing about this is it provides families some sort of closure.
Yeah.
There's no more
Absolutely.
mystery.
Is there any backstory of like how he grew up or anything like that?
not yet. There'll probably be stuff coming
There's
out.
probably going to be a
Sure.
movie about him. or
Last
Probably,
podcast on
yeah.
the left, we'll talk about it.
A quote from the article says, by the time we got done, it very well may be confirmed that he is the most prolific serial killer in American history. So once they do more research into him and all the cases, if they can connect the ones, even if he admits that he did, some they did close.
Well, I mean, a lot of serial killers have admitted that they've killed more than they actually did, and their numbers
Yeah,
always.
because he could say,
change.
"Oh, I did all this," and then really he just
Killed
talking.
those
Robert
3
Victim.
women.
He
yeah.
just I mean, the Georgia
Yeah.
ones though he did. I mean, those were closed
yeah.
from information, so there could be some basis to what he says.
We'll see.
But more, it'll come out more
yeah.
down the road. So, but yeah, so I thought it was pretty interesting, definitely to mention because that's been circling, on Facebook and Twitter and
That's
stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the another thing that we could talk about, since last week we talked about awkward eighth grade stories. Awkward eighth grade stories. Another good thing to kind of segue from last week's is our first kiss.
I think I'm gonna go
Nice.
first on this one.
Mm.
Lay it on me.
Okay.
Not literally.
Pun intended.
So
Man, my
it was.
stitches really mess with me right
It
now.
was. Yeah.
If you see me making a face, I'm messing with my stitch.
Man, can we talk about how when straight guys get drunk, like the inner gayness comes out too?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I can definitely.
yeah,
that
you
wedding
can vouch
that
for
I-
that one. Yeah.
The wedding that I went to last night, there was a whole lot of gay things
Like
happening.
why?
with
Like
our
every
group
time
members
I've
and-
ever been drunk around like straight guys, it's always like, bro, I fucking love you so fucking much, bro. Like
Yeah.
I would suck your cock right now.
I do that sober.
Yeah, he's not lying.
You are not.
Either way, my first kiss. Summer.
Was
after-
from a guy?
No.
I thought this
No,
was
you know
going-
what? I guess technically, in the 3rd grade, you know how they made you take reading tests, like after you read a book, you had to
Mhm.
get on the computer and take like a bunch of like questions.
Yes.
And so I'm sitting there in the 3rd grade, just taking my like reading quiz. And,
Is
and
the
I-
AR?
yeah, the AR.
Yeah,
So
I remember
and-
that.
And I feel something on the
He's
back
trying
of
to
my
get that pizza party
we
on
were
Friday.
just talking about
I know.
that.
and I feel something on the back of my head.
It's the teacher.
And all I heard was, and I turned around, and it's this fucking kid named Kevin. I was like, Kevin, what the fuck?
Full circle. Kevin is like 30, and Sahil's when you're in middle school. Kevin was 25.
So the girl sees
yeah. So he probably came up kissing you on the back of the head. You
Man.
had that mullet too, so he probably thought you were.
Man, I'll never.
This girl looking kind of slim.
He
thick
looked-
right here.
She's a,
Like some like
oh,
vinegar and
hold
cheeses
on.
though.
the way I can describe
hold on,
him.
hold on.
Vinegar
Go ahead.
Cheez-Its.
The way he looked, like the only way I can describe him is he looked like Dora the Explorer. So like I turn
He had
around
like that bowl, like a bowl cut, like
No,
down.
it's
No.
like this.
It's like up
Edna
here.
Mode's haircut.
and I was so traumatized. And I told the teacher, and he didn't do jack shit about it. And I was like, all right, bro.
My man's just trying to get his dick wet, son. Sit down, be quiet.
I ended up having that 3rd grade teacher for the 8th grade too. So full circle.
Oh man.
Anyways, my first kiss. It was summer after 8th grade. I was at a friend's house, and this girl, like, she was there too with her friends. And then I was like, yeah, bro, like get out of here. Come on now. Like,
Come
come on. I was like, I'm going to touch
Come
some
over
boobies
here,
today.
big boy. I smelled the Cheez-Its and vinegar from over here. Get over
this
here,
was past
boy.
that period.
Right.
This was me like weighing 140 pounds. I was nice and lean. Like,
When you lost all the fat
yeah,
before you started working
like,
out.
nice. And so this girl was like, she like gets real close to me. She like jimmied over, and I was like, oh, like,
You're just
oh
like,
shit, my pee. I'm like,
What's
the
going
beast-
on?
You smelled the shampoo or something
Dude,
that they're using,
she
and you're just
had,
Yep.
she had awakened the beast. Is all I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying, dude. When you at that age, dude, you get a nice breeze going. And
So I was just like, I put the hand over, and I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm in it.
she smells your bo.
She's like,
She was like, is that Axe?
Axe body spray.
She was like, did you take a shower?
is that Phoenix?
That's what everyone uses.
Everyone.
Dark chocolate.
Dude,
Dark
no, you're
Temptation,
gross. I use like Cool Blue or some
My
shit.
girl was all about it.
Phoenix, dude. Me
Phoenix
and
was
Tuck,
the one. Yeah.
No, no.
Every eighth
I
grade
used the
white
green
boy.
one, the green one that looked like Monster. But
Okay.
anyway,
Oh, I know what you're saying.
so I put my hand over her. It's all casual.
Essence.
So like we're like balls deep into this movie. So so
Balls deep
I
in this
turn my
movie.
head and I go in for the kill, and this bitch attacks me with her teeth. So my first kiss went something like this. I was so terrified. Teeth, so much teeth. I was like,
Women, any intimate moment you are having with a man, just don't even use your teeth.
Don't
in
think
any
about
way.
teeth.
Well, men too don't use your teeth.
Well, yeah, men too.
that goes both ways.
Well, sometimes you got to get a
But
little.
just speaking from experience,
Man, I thought that shit was gonna be so good. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to get my dick sucked. And so I'm like, I'm going in it, and then just
Starts nibbling on.
Oh yeah, hey, I
starts
remember.
nibbling on your
pee
teeth.
pee bit.
My Nana listens to this show too.
Hi, Nana.
I'm so
If
sorry.
you got this far,
Oh,
we're sorry.
Sorry, Nana. Love you too.
Man,
What else can I say? But you're welcome.
Wow.
I think we were watching like Marmaduke or some shit.
Not even a.
now that's a good movie to get your first kiss to.
No, not Marmaduke. It's like Marley and Me. It was like
Marley-
sad as shit.
Oh, don't do that.
No.
We waited till the dog died. And he's like, oh, so what do you think?
Hey, there's a lot of sex in that movie.
Is there?
So,
I don't even remember.
What Marley and Me edition were you watching?
the one where they got married and were constantly trying to have kids.
I don't think there was a sex scene in that movie.
My G.
Don't T-pose here.
Oh.
Do not assert your dominance right now.
You want me to assert my dominance? But
Did you say insert?
assert.
Either
Want me to
one.
insert my dominance?
That's what Brett Uncle told him.
Shout out to uncles.
Shout out to uncles.
Rip.
I might have told the story. I don't like one of my uncles, so like when he was crashing at my place and sleeping in my room, I peed in the toilet and then took his toothbrush and swirled that shit.
Oh.
Is he gonna listen?
Good.
in there. No,
Good.
he don't support any of my
Good.
endeavors. Yeah.
Dear God.
I don't really remember my first kid. The only two I mean, it wasn't
lot of
that
kisses,
long
huh?
ago though, because I was fat most of my life.
Do you remember the person?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
What's her name?
No, well,
She doesn't
when
go
I
to the
was-
school. She wouldn't know her.
Yeah, she goes to a different school.
Man, I used
Alright,
that so
whatever.
much in 8th grade.
I remember, no, I had this girlfriend though in the 9th grade, and I was because like in the 9th grade, people would be like, "Would you kiss Brett?" And I would be like off to the side, acting like I don't hear them,
like
and
this?
you just hear
Me
them all
sitting there
go.
just going like,
You just hear all of them go, "Ew," and you're just like, "Yeah, that makes sense." I'm just reading my comic books alone.
sitting
No,
there
I
just
had
like-
friends. I had friends.
That's me now though. That's the difference. That was Brett then, but it's me just like sitting there.
Watching Crunchyroll.
No, I remember.
Yeah, I'm on my phone like this, like-
Absolutely, watching anime for sure.
This one girl I used to talk to actually told me about how she used to be a lesbian and
Nice.
her like girlfriend was like
A guy.
So she wasn't a lesbian.
like her girlfriend was like her best friend, and this was in like 8th or 9th grade. And
Okay,
so they were
so
they
they're
were like
talking about it, and you're just like, she awoke the beast.
I was like, oh no, go down.
Oh no.
No, but she was telling me how like they had a whole relationship with their parents just thinking they were friends, but they were like going like sleeping over at each other's houses and hooking
Way
up.
to go, man.
And that I thought that shit was cool.
Way to go.
you can get away with that in the South because everybody just assumes you're a Christian.
Yeah,
So they're
a
just like,
straight
oh, they can't
person.
be gay. Not anymore, probably, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, but I had a girlfriend in the 9th grade. And she did go to a different school. She really did. But I really had this conversation where I was like, I showed a buddy a picture of her. She's much prettier than any girl I could have ever gotten in 9th grade at the time.
Rebecca going crazy somewhere. out
Rebecca
there right
is going crazy. She's, how dare you have a
She
relationship?
got the sniffles like.
She's like, how dare he have a
Who was he talking
relationship
about?
before he met me? But no, I showed him a picture. He's like, that's not your girlfriend. And I was like, yeah, it is, I swear.
She goes to a different school though.
Yeah. And he's like, that's not your girlfriend. And he was like, give me her number. And I gave
Then
him.
he took your girlfriend.
Yeah, then he took my girl. I gave him her number, and he called her or texted her or something. He was like, are you Brett's girlfriend? And she said yes. And he was like, he called me up and he was like, dude.
Nice.
She had a hot voice.
I think she's
but-
my girlfriend now.
No, he was much better looking than I was, so I was kind of worried the whole time. But it
You're
was, thank
Sweating
you.
bullets.
His name was Jesse at the time, I think. Was
Who?
it Jesse?
Jesse at
Not-
the time.
His
He
name
changed
was
his
Jesse.
name.
I don't know. I didn't mean to say that. His name is Jesse.
Now his name is James.
Yeah.
No,
Never
his
mind.
name
I don't
is
remember his
Jane.
name. I can't remember his name. But anyway.
He was a cool dude.
She and I were hanging out one time at her house. You know what's going on.
Nice.
I'm like on the other couch.
watching Finding
We were
Nemo.
watching Child's Play. We're watching the
Ooh, Chucky.
Dear God.
Yeah. So
Damn.
She was into horror movies. Anyway.
Molded-
that
she
is
molded
one
you.
way in.
She
Just-
molded you.
Just awkwardly sitting there with my hands crossed, watching the movie, not speaking to her at all. And then she moved over to my couch. And lucky for me, she was eating sour cream and onion potato chips.
I would have preferred salt and vinegar for being
if you're
real.
going to do that,
I
then
would
do salt and
prefer. Yeah,
vinegar.
that's my favorite flavor. Can you eat some of those first?
Ew, sour cream and onion. Ugh.
Yeah, so I got
Barbecue, please.
a dirty, stanky
You hear that,
ass
Liz?
kiss.
Hear that, Liz? Better eat some barbecue chips. Your boy's into that.
God.
No, but
She laid a fat one on you with some sour cream breath.
Mm-hmm. And she still had some in her teeth.
You got a little nibble?
Well, I sure did.
Oh, the little like
You're like-
green like flavor.
I had dude, I fucking hate myself in the 8th grade, dude.
Me
In the
too.
9th grade.
How long did y'all date?
About a month.
Y'all move.
That's long for them. That's like 3 months for an 8th grade relationship.
Y'all move pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but and then like I don't know. I feel like that was my first kiss, but I had another kiss with my like long-term girlfriend. We kissed for the first time, and it was just like it was both of our first kisses. I hadn't had a girlfriend in a very long time since sour
Cream girl.
Sour cream and onion, girl.
And we both close our eyes and kiss and just miss each other's face at
Wow.
the same time. It was absolutely.
like-
it was just like, and then she was like, "Uh-oh." Anyway,
I never closed my eyes when kissing people. Sometimes I still don't.
just staring.
I
You just
usually don't.
stare. That's a little weird.
It's really fun.
It's fun.
Because they
I
open
do
their
that,
eyes
like,
and you're just looking at
What
them.
if they hit you? Like, what if they pull their hand up?
Can't trust nobody
Y'all
around
know?
here.
Y'all know?
No cap.
Your eyes were open. Why were they open?
Yeah.
Um,
No, I kiss Rebecca with my eyes open sometimes, and then I realize like, oh, that's probably like.
Actually,
I love
that's a big reason my ex-girlfriend and I got into a huge fight because I was keeping my eyes open. And we didn't talk for like a week because
Nice.
of it. Yeah.
She found another man,
Yeah.
probably who would kiss her with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
Like a
that's-
normal person.
I'm sorry
I'm just kidding.
for my shortcomings. You don't know, what if she got a knife? What is she packing?
yeah, you don't ever know, man.
Go
You gotta
ahead.
keep an eye
Go
on it.
ahead, Alex. I'm sorry.
Tell us, does Liz pack?
Definitely.
Tight. Pack tight. That was stupid.
Oh, man, I'm so
I didn't even mean
uncomfortable.
it like that.
Yeah, how dare you talk about things like that here?
When I say pack it tight, I was thinking of tobacco and a tobacco pipe.
I was thinking of a gun. That's what I meant by packing.
I don't think Liz does that.
What?
Packs a gun. Yeah.
Oh my god.
No.
Can we just get to Alex's story?
Okay. So my first kiss was with that girl that I was telling y'all about, the redhead that I
Nice.
chased all through middle school.
Nice.
She finally came to her senses and was like, "Wow, this boy wrote me poetry."
Oh.
And
Man, you sound like someone that like my bullies would also have bullied.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There were categories of us.
Oh, 100%.
We were all part of a different group of dork.
Using like
Yeah.
poetry squad.
Yes, the slam poetry squad.
I was
yes.
by
I feel like
myself.
Brett and I were like together.
Probably,
like, we were
honestly.
just there.
Yeah, athletic boys. Rip.
No, we were not athletic at that time.
We were sour cream and onion boys.
Yeah.
So I wrote her a letter, and she saw it. She read it and was like, "Oh my God, this is the sweetest thing ever." And had her mom drive over to my house. By that time, I wasn't allowed to have girls over, or anyone over really. And I see them pull in the driveway. I go into the driveway.
Start sweating.
And her mom leaves in the van, and then we walk into my garage, and I went. And
The anticipation is killing
Y'all
me.
heavy.
don't know. I think I probably would have had a heart attack had I just eaten one more potato chip that day.
Boner throbbing.
She
So-
awoke the beast.
we kissed in like my garage basically because I was trying to hide from my parents because there's a window right outside there.
Mm.
And
Same house, right?
yeah,
Okay, I was
yeah,
making sure.
they lived in the same house. So kissed her, and she backed off, and then I like grabbed her face and went in for a second one, and she was like, "That was really sweet, but don't grab my face. It's weird." I was like,
Idiot.
"No, y'all don't
She's
know."
still there right next to him.
He like stomped off.
Ever since then,
Never grab
never
faces.
closed my eyes again during a
Oh.
kiss.
So you still grab faces.
No, only with
He
one
just
hand.
goes-
Only with one hand. That's literally. I went like this. Now
To
it's
your
just
forehead?
you
But
gotta go.
that's
now you
kind of
gotta-
cute
no,
sometimes.
not when you're in 8th grade and don't know how to kiss.
Yeah, that's
Ninth
true.
grade rather.
And
Get
also,
those clammy
it's-
hands too, because
You've
you're nervous.
already gave. Yeah, dude.
It's like sweat just.
oh, she's got wet handprints on her cheeks.
It's like,
Oh.
thank you.
Why are my hands all sweaty?
Oh my.
Anyways, it
God.
was great. We didn't talk. I mean, she
didn't
decided to
talk.
date some other guy after that.
It's cool. We stopped talking after that.
But then, like I said, she hit me up a couple years later, and I went, nah.
no,
You
thank
said-
you.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm married.
Proud of you.
Appreciate.
Well, my first kiss went a little like
Like
this. And twist.
Uh,
And twist.
Did you really?
I
That was
hate
lame. That was
you.
lame. Yeah, I was
I liked
waiting
that.
ever since the hill started. I was like, man, I can't wait to be done. I mean, I really want to do that. Okay, but no. So mine, I was 9 years old. What
9.
can I say?
What?
Damn.
Wait,
It
we're
was either
counting 9
or
or
10. It was either no. It was. I mean, it was a real. It wasn't like
Shout
a
out to
fake
being 9.
kiss. Like it was a real kiss. But
No.
9 or 10 years old. So before I moved to where I live now, I used to go to this like church camp thing that I used to go to like in the summer whenever
VBS?
yeah, like well no, it was like actually like a camp at a church.
Okay, I got you.
Like we just get dropped off in the mornings and then get picked up. At
Oh,
night.
I
My
went to one of
parents-
those too.
'cause
Yeah.
My parents were gone during the day and I was only 10. My sister was like 6 at the time, so we wouldn't stay at home, especially during summer.
Yeah.
So at that church that I did do VBS. So there's
Okay.
a girl that showed up there. Her name was Caitlin. I don't remember her last name. Don't know anything.
It's a
Haven't,
hot.
haven't talked to her
hot
since I was that
9.
young. Yeah, you gotta
If
remember.
I was 9, that would have been a hot name.
Yeah, you gotta clarify that.
Like my crush, Isabella, from when I was 9. That was hot to me
That's
at
a
the
good
time.
name. That's a good name.
But so like I had met her at VBS. You know, we had talked or whatever. We hung out. We'd play games because you're at VBS. I was at a church camp, and so eventually I got her phone number because she had a cell phone. I had a cell phone too, which is pretty cool. I had my little Razor. Little Motorola
Oh,
Razor.
yes.
So I was like, flip it open real quick, like, and she was like,
Whoa.
You
got
rich?
I was like, nope. So I got her number.
I'm actually out of minutes. So.
You're not wrong. But so I got her number, or whatever, and I was texting her, and then eventually went over to her house. And this is like literally just one time.
When you were 9?
When I was 10, well, 9 or 10, I can't. It was probably 10.
You had game. You were spitting game, texting a girl
10.
on your Razor at 9 years old,
9
saying,
years
"Hey,
old.
honey, let me come over."
Yes.
Man,
so-
I was playing fucking RuneScape when I was 9.
Yeah,
never
I
played
was
RuneScape.
probably crying a lot.
But I mean, so it was. I mean, it's real. It's very standard.
Sad boy
Just I
game.
went to her house and hung out with her. It was so awkward. It was so awkward. Just like sitting there watching TV and then just walking around her neighborhood. And then we came back sat back on her bed, and she took the drive. I was real nervous. She was like, "You want a kiss?" I was like, "Yeah."
Whoa.
You want
That was me. I was like, "Yeah."
Where were her parents?
Her parents were there. No, yeah, that was me. And so she just like leaned in and kissed me, and I was like,
Thank you.
"Thanks."
You
And
you
then-
did like a baby kiss, like
No, I did a real one.
Died.
Of course, I'd never done it before, but
you died.
I watched enough videos to know how you kiss. So,
You were practicing on your fist
Yeah, I was
for
like-
a while.
Oh, I
Dude,
did it in the bathroom, in
Who
the
didn't
shower.
do that?
When I watched movies with my parents when I was a kid and it had kissing scenes and like I closed my eyes,
Had a
I would like
notepad.
rewatch it after later.
Notepad, like okay, tilt the head to the left.
49.69.
Yeah, like
but yeah, so I mean it was standard.
Mm.
Just a normal old first kiss, and then never talked to her again.
Oh, that's sweet.
So at least she
That
took that
moves
from me.
us.
Real success story.
That's gonna move us into the medium rare section of the show. Can you smell
What I've been cooking?
Nice.
what Brett's been cooking?
What Tucker?
Well, Tucker's been cooking.
But I've been in here
You can't
slaving.
smell me.
even in the lab.
I've been in the lab cooking.
So what do
it
you
up.
what do you got for us?
So
It doesn't matter what you have for us.
that actually scared
I
me.
think you broke
I was
the
I-
freaking
I think I
mixer.
shit it a little.
I just blew my mic. Sorry.
What if you did?
That shit only cost $6, bro.
That's true.
Chill
We
with
can-
it.
We can get another one.
But okay, so today, because we know like planning this out, this is going to be multiple parts.
Yeah, we're gonna have a 3-part series on
For
the
this
WWE.
one, so this is part one, and this whole area of WWE or WWF, according to how you want to really look at it, according to the time period, is the first like from the early '60s to the early '90s. We felt like this was like the
The
easiest.
golden age.
Like the golden age comes into the '80s, but
well,
this
that's
is like
between
or the
this
golden
time.
era. The golden era.
Yeah.
But that's basically I guess the big part of what we're gonna talk about today. But I want to start back into like the beginnings of WWE.
Right.
So WWE was known as the WWF at first, which was just the Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
Right.
And it was created in 1963 by Vince McMahon Sr., which I actually didn't realize that it was because everyone knows Vince McMahon now. But there's Vince McMahon Sr., and then there was actually a Jess McMahon.
Vince McMahon was a. I'm just asking. You look like you got mad.
No,
at
you're
that
no.
student.
I'm feeling my.
Oh,
I'm feeling my my
Stitches.
speech
Yeah.
not being working very good.
Okay.
Good.
But Vince McMahon was an announcer at first, right? The current Vince McMahon.
That we all know. Yeah, he used to announce stuff.
Is he Vince McMahon Jr.?
Yeah, he's Vince McMahon Jr.
Yeah.
But so Jess McMahon with Toots Mondt, which was Toots Mondt was a boxer or not a boxer. He was a wrestler. Whenever in the 50s, this kind of goes back a little backtrack. Jess and Toots were actually partners first before it was Vince Sr. So Toots was actually a wrestler too, which is this whole family, like the McMahon family, which we'll go into. Pretty crazy, which is what they do, especially even now. But so they worked together, and then whenever Jess was getting older, he left it in charge to his son Vince Sr. So Vince Sr. and Toots Mondt, after they had worked together for a little bit, man,
I can hear it.
I know.
It just sounds like there's like a cough drop in your mouth.
Yeah, you're kind of talking like this.
It's fine.
It's
I know
not
it's my
that
tongue.
exaggerated.
It's my tongue is like being real, feels like it's being really wide.
You got a lot
Sorry.
of reading to do,
Yeah, I
Tucker,
know.
so you better get used to it.
But
No sympathy.
but yeah, so
Figure it out.
I know I'm trying to work, damn it. But so that's just to start it off. Fuck me, right?
This poor guy.
Never get your wisdom teeth taken out because this is what happens, especially if you have to talk.
You're on a podcast. Don't get your wisdom.
Yeah, so that's
teeth
just to
out.
start it off. Like that's just the basis of WWE or WWF and all that. So
Right. At
to
the
start,
time, it was
at the start, just when it was created,
Right. Okay.
WWF.
Yeah.
So to start after just introducing them from the 60s to the late 70s, they were part of a group, Jess and Toots, they were part of a group called the Capital Wrestling Corporation, which turned into the WWF or WWF. But the group that oversaw them was the NWA, which was the National Wrestling Alliance.
With attitude.
Yeah, it was the National Wrestling Alliance. I'm really trying hard. I can feel it when I try and talk. I don't know why it's doing it.
Don't worry about it. It's not that bad.
But in the alliance, the NWA generally promoted strong shooters as champions, which is almost like the face. So they could use someone that was like the face. Like current would be like Roman Reigns, which before what's going on now. Yeah. Roman Reigns would be a good example for then what they were using. But this guy they used for their main thing in 1961. The NWA board, which is funny that wrestling, because back then I don't know how obvious it was for it being fake, because everyone knows it's fake. It's entertainment.
It's scripted.
It's yeah, that's what I should say. It's not fake. People get injured.
Mm-hmm. The moves are real.
Everything's real. It's just scripted. Like it's a show. Mm-hmm. It's just like you're going to a play or something, but it's for
you'll know what happened
for drunk dudes and you're getting medals.
You're still gonna get hurt if
if you mess up. Yeah. If you mess up, even the moves like just doing anything in general, like you can get hurt.
Yeah.
But so that the NWA board decided to put the championship on this guy called the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers.
Yep.
And he was
before Ric Flair.
Yeah, this is before. It's like a bleach blonde showman.
It's literally Ric Flair just became
he basically
him.
just before Ric Flair. And
yeah.
You can kind of say his character is loosely, not even really loosely, based upon him.
Yeah.
But the rest of the NWA was unhappy with Mont because he rarely allowed him to wrestle like anywhere else, because the area of the WWF was more of in the northeast. Was more in the northeast. So whenever they had shows or whatever, it was strictly there. So they had this group that they were like the main champion of the NWA and like in WWF, but they were supposed to do shows like with other areas. But because they wanted to keep him there, the main board got real mad because they're like, we can't. This is our champion. It's kind of like Brock Lesnar now. He never, of course, I don't think he's the champion now again, which is bullshit. We can get into that even later. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like that where everyone gets mad because he's not at any of the other shows anywhere else in the U.S. It's just in the Northeast.
Wait, was it televised at this point, or
at this point? I think they had like special programs that would televise, but a lot of it was like house. Well, I guess today's house shows would have been like their normal shows.
Oh, okay.
Because they have house shows now. They're like.
Speaking of which, like whenever a lot of WWE wrestlers come to our gym, and whenever they came to our gym, it's usually on like a Thursday when they have a house show nearby,
like in Columbus or something.
But
like
Sheamus I've met Sheamus. I've met Dave Batista.
Yes. Batista's a cool guy. I literally shit my pants when he walked in.
Yeah, Dave Batista is the reason I work out. He's like, ever since I was a kid, I idolized
so
Dave
cool.
Batista.
He's a nice guy, too.
And now he's an actor, which is a
he
big
pulled the
actor.
Rock.
He was
he
always
pulled the
an
Rock
actor.
thing, and he's doing it really good.
And does BJJ, so I
and
mean,
who are the two
awesome.
twin Samoan brothers right now?
Oh, goodness. Jimmy and Jey Uso. The
Uso
Usos.
brothers. Yeah, one
the
of
Usos.
them was at the... Jey Uso was at our gym.
I've met David Taylor, who used to be a big deal back
college-
in the day. Yeah, he lives
college
around
wrestling.
here. Yeah,
Really?
and I know I'm friends with his daughter.
That's college
bet you
wrestling.
are.
No,
David
I know her, Natalie. She's
Yep.
Why does David Taylor here? I thought he went to Penn State. Or I'm so stupid. I can't.
No,
remember
he
what
runs-
it said.
Finley also, his son went to Northgate.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Finley?
Mm-hmm. That's Fit Finley's son. He does like a...
Georgia's a hotbed for wrestlers, in case you didn't know.
David Taylor. I think he's involved with like I think they have a training facility in Jonesboro, like south of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I think he works there or does something there.
Fit Finley went to my church. He's like a writer now or a producer now.
all this just came full circle.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Also, who was the guy? What?
You're really far away from your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Got him.
My bad. I'm just all kind of came full circle for me. And also, who's the wrestler who did like
Chris
the murder
Benoit?
suicide? Yeah, Chris Benoit.
That's-
Murder
I
suicide.
actually...
Very close to us.
Chris Benoit got me and my dad free tickets to a Backlash pay-per-view one time when I was in the 8th grade before he murdered his wife and son and himself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. You still got the tickets?
No, I don't know.
Like, put away. That would probably
you
sell
met
for
Chris Benoit?
I I don't think I ever met him, but my dad, it was a guy who was a friend with my mom, was friends with Chris Benoit, and he told Chris that me and my dad were big WWE fans, got us free tickets. But my buddy, one of my friends that I played football with when I was younger, he was close to Chris Benoit. He actually trained in the same gym that was in his house that he hung himself. Like, he trained on that same bench. He ended up hanging himself on. Rest in peace, Chris Benoit. I know that what he did was terrible, but his brain was so damaged he didn't.
Which we can get into that later too.
So it was like a brain related thing?
The autopsy said
he had CTE.
The doctor said, or whoever does an autopsy, is that a doctor?
Coroner?
Yeah, coroner.
He said that he had the brain of like an 89-year-old Alzheimer's victim.
Hundreds of concussions.
Oh,
Yeah.
no doubt.
I mean, his finishing move was where he just would jump off the top rope and hit you with his head.
Yeah.
His brain was damaged badly. Anyway, we're
Yeah.
not talking
Sorry
about
for the
Chris-
little tangent. That, I mean,
That
it's
was
good
a-
information, but
Yeah.
it's
We're so
fascinating,
interesting.
yeah.
But anyway,
Completely
sorry.
WWE related though.
yeah, I mean,
You
so
were
it still
talking
goes
about-
with it.
You're talking about house shows, and that just reminded me of a
Yeah.
whole lot of things.
But basically just explaining like how he was stuck into the Northeast, so they wanted him to come and wrestle. So eventually they had to try and make him give up the title, but he was unwilling to sacrifice his $25,000 deposit on the championship belt because the holders at the time, they actually had to pay a deposit to make sure they were still the champion. They had to pay their own money to make sure like they stayed champion. So basically, if you were to become it somehow, if you wanted to really stay, you just paid money. And you would be able to
Whoa.
stay champion for as long as possible, unless they probably were like, no, we can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But you could hold it for almost as long as you wanted, as long as you paid the deposit. But so after all that, when they had all that issue and they tried to move it, he lost his NWA World Heavyweight Championship to Luthez, which is another big like wrestler from the '60s, in a one-fall match in Toronto. And that actually led to Mont and McMahon and the CWC leaving the NWA in protest, which that ended up creating the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, like in '62.
So that's where they got rid
This
of
is
the
all
W.
like pre like going straight into. So now this
That's-
is like
they
this
got-
is the company. This is what would lead into WWE after they left.
So now it's just two W's. That's what I'm trying to.
Well, no, this is still Worldwide Wrestling Federation
Okay.
right now. This is more just a precursor to what created it
Okay.
and who was like in charge. So that whole event like there, that created what became the WWE today.
Okay.
So that whole issue. On April 25th of '61, Rogers was awarded the new WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And supposed like the whole like story behind it was that he won an apocryphal tournament in Rio de Janeiro. Some like weird like super tournament that no one ever saw. They just said they were just like, yeah, he won this, and everyone was just like, okay.
Wow, right.
So now he's the champion. But he lost that championship to Bruno Sammartino, who, if you know who Bruno Sammartino is, he was, I don't know if he is or was the longest reigning champion like ever in WWE history.
Okay.
I think he held it for like over 2 years, which is insane for someone to hold it. Which I mean, I know it's part of the whole story, but yeah, it's pretty crazy because what's crazy about it is he actually suffered a heart attack before the match, Rogers, which is why they were like, yeah, we got to give him the belt. Like, you can't wrestle anymore. So he suffered a heart attack and was able to still wrestle but they made it last under a minute. So
In
like
the '60s, they're just like,
well, they made it last
Yeah,
just a
hard.
minute. They were like, get in there, throw you one time, and then we're just gonna call it. So I'm pretty sure the fans are probably like really
I
mad.
feel like the '60s though,
But-
where medical conditions and stuff was just like
Did not matter.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't have insurance.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure they didn't. They were like, you got it. You got a nickel. You can go to the doctor. I don't think '60s wasn't
What,
a
a
nickel.
doctor? We got
We got
Bill-
old Jim in the back.
Bill's in the back.
Hey guys.
Hello.
But so San Martino, when he won it, actually I was wrong. I had put it in my notes. I thought it was 2 years. He actually held it for 2,803 days. So it was 7 years, 8 months, and 1 day. He held the title after he
Damn.
won it from Rogers. After that, so even to think, if Rogers hadn't had a heart attack, San Martino probably maybe would not have held on to it for that long. But he was the face. San Martino was the face of the WWF. But there were other wrestlers like Superstar Billy Graham and Bob Backlund were
Billy
also
Graham.
like Billy
Just
Graham.
imagine. Rest
Superstar.
Rest in peace, Billy Graham. But just imagine the pastor.
The Lord loves you all.
He's hitting people with the Bible. Yeah.
Crucifix.
The power of Christ compels you.
Hits him upside
Hits
the
him
head
with
with
a
a crucifix. Yeah. But so that's like some of the bigger ones.
Rest in peace, Billy Graham, though, not the wrestler.
Not superstar Billy Graham,
No,
but
no.
actual Billy Graham. But so there's some other wrestlers of the '60s that you might recognize are like Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Talk about Bruno Sammartino and Buddy Rogers.
Okay, Andre the Giant was in The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
And I read a book about The Princess Bride because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And apparently there was one time when they were on set, they're about to shoot a scene, and they go, action, and he farted so loud. And like they thought like a gunshot went off or something. And he was like, sorry. Yeah. And they all started laughing, and
Don't laugh at me.
Carrie in what's his
Just
name?
grabs their head.
The lead in the movie, I cannot remember his name. I can't remember. Anyway, he was like, it was in the book. He said right after the sound went off that we thought was a gunshot, the most putrid smell I had ever experienced.
It's like protein.
And then they all just started laughing. Well, yeah, no, he would drink like 30.
A lot of beer.
Yeah.
A lot of beer.
In order to get a buzz, he would drink like 30 bottles of beer. Just
I bet it takes him 30 cans to get a buzz.
Yeah, he would drink so much alcohol and eat so much food.
That's why you drink whiskey.
No, he would
He
have
was
to
a beer
drink
guy.
a whole bottle.
He's a beer guy.
Whiskey better than beer.
He's a beer
it's
guy.
quicker.
Yeah, but he likes beer.
He's a beer guy.
Okay, I get that.
Man, his flatulence just must have been off the charts.
I mean, he would eat, like when he would eat food, he would get 2 giant entrees for himself. The man was literally, like, he was a giant. It was
Literally
unreal. Anyway, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. But it's like, so other than Andre the Giant, like we did talk about Sammartino, Rogers, there's Johnny Valentine, which is another one. We talked about Graham, Buckland, and Luthez. There's also Cowboy Bob Ellis. The Sheik, the Iron Sheik,
The
he
Iron
wrestled in the
Sheik.
60s. I didn't know he wrestled in the 60s.
Wow.
I know it was like in the 70s and 80s, but he was actually around then. And then Pat O'Connor, and there's some other wrestlers like that, but those are just some big names. So the WWF gained notoriety in the 70s by holding their biggest shows at Shea Stadium or Madison Square Garden in New York.
Okay,
Shea
so this
Stadium,
is when they're getting big.
yeah, Shea, I think it's Shea Stadium is where the Mets used to play.
Mhm.
So they used to play
Madison
like,
Square Garden.
yeah, everyone knows Madison Square
It's
Garden.
the biggest thing in the world.
But they were doing strong business across the entire Northeast, like the Northeast megalopolis, whatever it's called. That's what
Northeast
megalopolis. I'm trying to make sure. But so even then, like even in the 70s, they were still like stuck in that area of just the Northeast. They didn't move around a lot.
Oh, okay. I see.
But they leveraged former but still popular wrestlers such as like Captain Lou Albino, Grand Wizard of Wrestling Ernie Roth, and Classic Freddie Blassie.
The Grand Wizard.
Grand Wizard of Wrestling Ernie Roth.
Okay, well, so did he come out?
We're back to the Solar Temple, guys.
Dude, did he come? No, the Grand Wizard is a KKK
thing, yeah.
Did he come out in white robes in a hood?
I didn't want to look him up. I didn't want to.
You didn't want to tag on your.
I didn't
on
because
your
I didn't.
name?
If I was gonna say it, I was like, I'll just leave it.
He
Someone
came out
can
with a
find
burning cross.
Dear God.
I don't
name
know.
was
I don't
the
know. They
Grand Wizard.
they had other races of wrestlers, so I don't think that's what he made.
This was back when racism was
This is the
alive
70s.
and well.
This is in the
well, I mean, it
70s.
kind of is
It
now.
still is.
But I'm just saying, this was when it was a little more acceptable.
this is
but-
when it was like,
well, see,
like
they-
publicly endorsed.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
They brought them back, though, not to wrestle. Though they brought them back as like managers for like heels. Like Sammartino had like a heel, or he had like heel opponents, and they would come back because he was still doing this whole run where he had the title. They would come back and be the manager for like the heel wrestlers, which, so like, but the main thing like is, I'm sure we could talk about, but like babyface and heel. For those that don't know, babyface wrestlers are usually
It's like your John Cena.
Yeah, like John Cena
Ric
or
Flair,
like
Hulk Hogan.
Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan. Trying to think of like more modern ones, but there's some like a lot of wrestlers
That's-
though.
yeah.
They'll do twists, like they'll go. They do a heel turn, is what they call it when
Like
they go
Hulk
from,
Hogan.
Yeah, they'll do a heel turn where they're like the baby face or the good guy, and they'll do something bad, like oh no, I can't
And now
believe he
they're
did
the
that.
bad
Now
guy.
they're
They're
the
the
bad
heel.
guy, and then
So
the
those are
heels
the
are
bad
just the bad guy, and then of course you can have some heels that turn
The
into baby
Rock's
face.
been good and bad.
Yep.
What
You
are
could
some
even
good
say,
heels?
like,
Hulk Hogan's been really good and real bad sometimes.
Hulk Hogan is a heel in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's saying he might have been the Grand Wizard of Wrestling.
That's
too.
what I'm
Here,
saying.
God.
spouting out the N word like it's nobody's.
But like
business.
Seth Rollins is a good example of a.
You mean Brett Owens?
Alex seems to think that Seth Rollins looks
Seth
like
Rollins looks absolutely
nothing.
nothing like me.
He's
Wait,
a
wait,
gorgeous
let me-
man. Are you not going to
let
take
me
that as
see,
a
let me see.
compliment?
I mean, I take it as a compliment, but he looks nothing like.
I
if
don't
you
think
had
so.
long hair,
Seth.
Nah.
and back,
Rollins.
especially back when you had that full beard, I was like, oh, it's just Brett.
Nah.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
no, but but like he's a good example because I think for whenever I watched more, he was like the heel, and then he had like a babyface turn. So there's also like you can do either way.
That man don't look like Brett.
Let me see.
Thanks.
Let
That
me see
looks
what
like
you're looking at.
Tarzan.
Let me see what you're looking at.
But so that's
No, keep
just
going.
that's just the main thing with that. I just felt like we needed to explain that because
Yeah,
some
yeah,
people
heel and
may
babyface-
not know. Like they say
Most people
babyface.
listening probably don't give a shit about the WWE.
Holy shit, he looks like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Let me see.
A little bit.
A
I can
beefy-
see
See, I know. I agree
big,
too.
beefy
If Jake
Jake
Gyllenhaal
Gyllenhaal.
was a beefy
Seth Rollins.
guy, he kind of looks like my buddy Tyler Buckingham a little bit. in
Yeah.
that picture.
Yeah, and
He really does.
Anyway, go ahead.
How do you know Tyler? Sorry, let's go.
He was at a
Yeah.
Christmas party.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Sorry.
we talk about Tyler
I
later.
know.
But so like heel stuff, like whenever they had championship transitions, they usually use heels as a way to transfer them from one main champion to another.
Yeah.
So some big name like heels that were champions were Ivan Koloff and Stan Stasiak. They were used as like transitions between like the big time babyface people.
It's not a fart. I'm moving my thumb.
I was gonna say I heard that earlier and so I was like, what's up, boy? But Billy Graham was one of the only heel characters. Superstar Billy Graham, not the preacher. He was a heel character. And he was one of the only ones to keep his championship for
'Cause he had
longer
the power of the
than
Lord
1
by
month.
his side.
Longer than in the 70s.
No
They used
cap.
all the heel guys when they became champions. They never held it for more than a month. They would just use it for like that week or two to just hold on to it for the next big event, and then they would go to the next main guy.
Right.
So the WWF was relatively conservative for promotions of its day, running its major arena monthly rather than weekly or bi-weekly. I mean, like they did shows at a specific arena like once a month. So they would have their shows, but they wouldn't go around a lot. They would just do like one show there for 1 month, and then that was it.
In one area?
Yeah, and then they would come back the next month
Okay.
instead of having like multiple shows. Programs generally involve like a babyface champion facing the heel challenger for 1 to 2, 3 meetings in each scheduled town. For longer programs, the heel would often win the first match, and then the next one would be like a count out or via excessive blood loss, which you don't see as much now. But like back in the day, they used to use that as a way, and they would like get hit, and they would have like another little secret. Like my dad told me too, whenever he used to go and watch stuff when he was younger, they would get little razors they would have like on the floor.
Yeah, yeah.
And they would go like
If
and
you
cut
watch The
themselves.
Wrestler, that was one thing that they did. And Dusty Rhodes,
Why are you looking at me like that?
I just thought that was weird.
No, in The Wrestler, they show it that he would hide the razor blade in his like arm wraps. But if Dusty Rhodes went before he passed away, when he got old, he had so many scars just all over his forehead from scratches.
I would
from
be
making
so
himself bleed.
I'd be so afraid like having it in a wristband that it just slits my wrist.
Well, I mean, he would wrap it, put the razor blade, wrap it,
Oh,
and then he
okay.
would just kind of slide it out.
But another weird thing about like the WWF or like just wrestling then compared to now. So you know how usually they have main events, right? And they're usually at the end. So during this time, they would have the main event in the middle of the show, which is really weird. So they would have it set in the middle, and then they would use the ending matches as a way to sell tickets for the next
show.
yeah,
Gotcha.
for the next one. So I don't know. I think it's a little weird. I don't understand I kind of understand the process of doing it, but at the same time, I don't know. It's just a little weird. Some of the more bigger wrestlers in the 70s that I didn't mention were like Dory Funk Jr. There's a lot of Funks, like the Funk family.
Yeah.
So there's Dory Funk Jr., there's Jack Briscoe, the Sheik still. You had Terry Funk, Pat Patterson,
Terry Funk.
Harley Race is a big one, Gene Kaninsky, Ernie Ladd. Ernie Ladd was a pretty big deal. There's Giant Baba. There's another wrestler. There's Giant Baba. And then there was Jerry Lawler. Everyone knows Jerry Lawler, whether he was announcing
Oh, Jerry
or
Lawler for
anything
sure.
like that.
Jerry the King Lawler.
Which I kind of don't like him.
No, my dad was always like.
He was like a heel announcer, which they have heel and babyface for announcers too.
All right.
Which is they go into that extreme, even with just people that are just commenting on it. But so this moves us into the golden era, which is like kind of like.
Sorry,
No,
Jerry
you're good.
Lawler. Did you see him in that Andy Kaufman thing with Jim Carrey, the documentary about Jim Carrey turning into Andy Kaufman?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Andy
I've heard about
Kaufman
it.
and him had like real beef in real life.
Yeah.
And since Jim Carrey had become Andy Kaufman in his brain, like he thought he was Andy Kaufman. When they recreated the scene from on late night television.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Letterman.
Yeah.
Or no, it was before Letterman. It was Johnny Carson.
Are you sure? Because they didn't have Johnny Carson.
Maybe it was Letterman.
I think it was Letterman.
Yeah, maybe it was Letterman. But anyway, they recreated the Letterman bit, and he legit was like in the real thing. In the real thing, Jerry Lawler punches in real life. Jerry Lawler punches Andy Kaufman in the face.
Yeah.
And he has like a neck brace and stuff. But in the movie, Jim Carrey really hated Jerry Lawler because Andy Kaufman did. And so he ended up getting on Jerry Lawler's nerves so much that Jerry Lawler was like on the verge of just beating the shit out of him.
Yeah.
They were chasing each other around and like it was real. check out that movie, dude.
Yeah, I wanted to see it actually.
Jim
I heard
and
about it,
Andy?
but I've never watched
It's on
it.
Netflix.
What's it called?
Jim and Andy.
Jim and Andy, yeah.
I
Jim and
I don't know how I feel about it. I thought it was really good at first, and then
From an actor's standpoint, I thought it was very interesting.
interesting. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So jump back in for the golden era to kind of start it off. Throw just a little bit back up to 71. Toots actually left the WWF.
Classic Toots.
Tootsmont, old Toots.
Old Toots.
He left, and it left Vince Sr. fully in charge. So once he was in charge, you're like, let's drop that extra W. He thought that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
So after he took charge, they dropped it, and they were like, and then also Vince Sr.'s son, Vince Jr.,
The Vince
founded.
McMahon we
He
know
founded
today.
Titan Sports Incorporated and applied the trademarks for WWF.
Okay.
So that's when Vince Sr. first got his part into it, because Titan Sports comes back into play for now. Like that's the company that's in charge of WWE, which it's just now WWE in general. Like that's just what it is. But so in '83, McMahon purchased Capital Sports, which was the parent company, from his father and associates Gorilla Monsoon and Arnold Scotland. Gorilla Monsoon.
Gorilla Monsoon.
But so he wanted to make the
That's
WWF
my,
the premier.
That's my next album.
Gorilla Monsoon. Yeah. But he wanted to make the WWF the premier wrestling promotion in the world, because at the time there's still other like groups, kind of like how not today probably more of, but like a couple years ago you still had like TNA was still around.
Yeah.
It was like Ohio Valley Wrestling, something
Talking
like
about
that.
TNA that now.
Well,
like-
even like a couple years ago,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
as
yeah.
big now. but
I've been to a lot. They changed the name to Impact Wrestling now because TNA is obviously
total
a terrible
nonstop
name.
action.
Yeah, it's not tits and ass.
Not anymore.
That was what it supposedly stood for. I never knew that as a child, but they changed the name. Anyway, I met a lot of wrestlers from the TNA.
But
stuff.
Vince wanted to make Vince Sr. I should say wanted to make it more premier. So
Yeah.
he this is a quote from Sports Illustrated that he gave. So it said, in the old days there were wrestling chiefdoms like all over the country, each with its own little lord in charge. Each little lord respected the rights of his neighboring little lord. No takeovers or raids were allowed. There were maybe 30 of these tiny kingdoms in the U.S. Like I was saying, there's like 30 other little small wrestling companies around the whole world. And if I hadn't bought out my dad, there would still be 30 of them, fragmented and struggling. I, of course, had no allegiance to those little lords. So from then,
Little Lords.
yeah. So I mean, he literally decided like, hey, I'm gonna
Fucking
work
Middle
to
Earth.
make sure that we actually can be televised and put all over the country so people can see us.
Mm-hmm.
So Vince McMahon Sr. brought that up, and he started to make sure that they were able to be seen on television all across the United States. So this angered other promoters and disrupted the well-established boundaries that most other companies had. So in addition, the company used income generated by advertising, television deals, and tape sales. Because back then you could buy wrestling tapes.
I just listened to it.
No, wrestling tapes like
like a VHS,
like almost like that. Yeah,
So
this is in the 80s. This is in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was these things called VCRs.
I had one of those. How you think I watched all them Rugrats movies, bro?
I had no idea where you were going with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that's how I used to do. You would literally go to the store or like the movie place, and get your VHSs.
I
And
thought
they
you
would
were talking
have-
about like cassette tapes that
No,
people
and
were
they would
driving and
have
listening to.
they
Shout
would
out
have the
Blockbuster.
shows. Yeah,
Shout
shout
out
out Blockbuster.
Shout out Hollywood
Rest
Video.
Rest in peace.
Okay. Shout out Blockbuster.
But you
Fuck
would go
Hollywood
there.
Video.
You would go there, and that's how you would get your fix.
Your
If you wanted to
wrestling
watch
fix.
wrestling,
Your
if
fix.
you didn't see it on TV, that's how you had to watch it.
Yeah.
So with this kind of process, you can see how the McMahon family kind of
Mm-hmm.
is like how they are now. Like Vince Jr., he took from his dad the same way.
Okay.
So McMahon's vision for his promotion was starting to become possible when he signed AWA talent Hulk Hogan in the 80s.
There we go.
Brother.
That's what I'm talking
He had achieved popularity outside of wrestling, notably for his appearance in Rocky. He was in Rocky 3
Yeah. Hulk
as Thunder Lips.
Mhm.
So that's how he was really popular. And then it was awesome. He got popular. He was popular from that.
Now applied to his sex tape.
Yeah, that's the same name of his.
But he was
That
popular.
was actually my nickname in college.
So it's funny though because that's how he actually was popular first. Really was from Thunder Lips,
Yeah.
playing in Rocky 3 and not wrestling.
Or
For the
saying
most
the
part.
N-word.
God.
Or
yeah.
saying
Yeah, don't say the N word.
don't say that either.
They're Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but McMahon actually signed Roddy Piper, Hogan's rival, and shortly afterwards signed Jesse the Body Ventura. So these are like more
There we
names.
go.
These are more names that everyone kind of recognizes.
Jesse
getting into the
Ventura is
80s.
governor of some. He was
It's like California or something.
it wasn't California. It
That was Arnold.
Arnold was
No, like I thought it was like a
it's like
county.
Ohio or something.
I thought it was like
No,
a
he was
county or
governor.
city. Oh,
He
he's
was
a governor
somewhere.
Oh.
I can't remember
Dang.
where.
That's some clout right there. That's some clout.
Mm-hmm.
But so shortly after he signed them, there were other significant wrestlers who were part of the roster, including Big John Studd. Andre the Giant was still around.
Yeah, Andre.
But he wrestled for a while.
Yeah.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka, rest in peace.
Yeah. rest in
also.
peace.
The magnificent Don Morocco.
Hmm.
Junkyard Dog, the Mr. Wonderful
I remember
Paul
John
Orndorff.
Valentine.
Greg the Hammer Valentine, which is related to Johnny Valentine. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Nikolai Volkov. He was mostly known as like a heel. He was kind of like the, I guess kind of like Rusev
Mhm.
in a way, like of today's. He was
Mhm.
like that heel character.
Yeah.
But in '84,
In
Hogan.
the 80s, like Russia was the big
Yeah, 'cause
enemy.
It's Cold War. Everyone had to
Mm-hmm.
do that just to stir the pot.
Yeah.
In '84, Hogan was pushed to main event status. He defeated the current champion Iron Sheik. At
He
Madison
was the
Square
John
Garden.
Cena of his time.
Hulk Hogan, yeah. Except John Cena hasn't done anything bad
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, John Cena's never said the N word.
And he's acting too, which is also good.
That we know of.
Public, yeah.
Yeah, that we know of.
But so he became. That's how like a lot of the wrestlers evolved into like the most recognizable and popular faces. It's just like
Mhm.
from matches like that. With reasonable revenue being made, McMahon was able to secure television deals, and it was showed all around the United States. Syndication of WWF programming forced promotions to engage in direct competition with the WWF. So like the other wrestling groups were like, "Oh crap, we have to keep up."
Mm-hmm.
So they started trying to copy the same thing. But the increased revenue allowed them to also sign more talent like Brutus Beefcake, Tito Santana, Jake the Snake Roberts, Butch Reed, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which he actually
Met
has,
Hacksaw.
he's came back a lot recently within the past 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
they always bring back their old, even if he doesn't even do anything, he just shows up.
Hacksaw.
Because Hacksaw Jim Duggan would always carry around just a 2x4. He would
Yep.
just carry it around and then hit people.
Hacksaw.
That was his bit.
Tucker. It's like as soon as I start talking, you just start yelling louder.
Happened 4 times in a row.
Jesus.
And Brett goes, first time, second time, third time.
Just starts seething.
God. No, but Hacksaw was a tag team with this offensive character, Eugene, who was mentally challenged.
Yeah.
Remember Eugene?
He was
and
special.
his title on the screen above him where they pulled up
It
his
was like
name.
spelled backwards.
It was spelled backwards on a chalkboard.
like the E was like backwards. Yeah.
He would come out and wave an American flag, Hacksaw would, and he would have his wood plank and just shake his head or whatever, and Eugene would be like,
Yeah, they didn't.
So
Back in the
offensive.
80s and 90s, they didn't really care.
no, that was like 2007.
Well, yeah, even then too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they only started caring in like 2014 or 15.
Like recently.
Like everyone started giving a fuck.
Once Trump became president, everybody's pretty much offended about everything. Maybe before.
Maybe second term Obama.
Yeah, second term Obama's when everybody starts.
That's
getting
when
offended.
shit hit the fan, dog.
Anyway, Tucker, go ahead.
So after introducing all of them in '85, McMahon had the idea to McMahon Jr. I think I said senior last time. From the '80s on, this is all junior.
Right.
He's in charge.
Yeah.
He had the idea in '85 to create like a national event that had never been done before. So he came up with the idea of WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought this would be the best way to have like a national event to get the most coverage, the most attention, everything. So they created it. It would be a pay-per-view extravaganza viewable on closed-circuit television. Like even in the 80s, they still had pay-per-view you would have to buy from your service provider, and then you would be able to watch it.
Yeah.
So like they kind of marketed it as a Super Bowl of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And they had joint promotional campaigns with MTV, which featured a great deal of WWF coverage and programming on MTV. And it was termed the Rockin' Wrestling Connection.
I've actually been to one WrestleMania.
I've
Came to
never
Atlanta.
been to a show. I want to go.
They came to
Me and
Atlanta.
Tucker
It was when
almost
the
went.
Rock. It was when the Rock came back for a little while.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Snooki was in it. Remember Snooki?
Oh,
Shout out Jersey
yeah,
Shore.
yeah.
I can't remember which WrestleMania it was.
I think that's when The Rock and John Cena went like head to head again.
The second time or the first time?
Second
I
time.
think it was this. Okay.
Because they fought 2 WrestleManias in a row. That's just, it's a money grab. I hate
Yeah,
to say
for
it. That's
sure.
a big
That's a
old
great
money
money.
grab.
Vince
For sure.
McMahon is.
Because I think
great
The Rock,
business.
Vince- yeah.
The Rock won the first one, and then John Cena won the second. So it's literally just they just make them even, and then they both make a shit
Vince
ton of
McMahon
money.
is a genius.
He really is.
Paul Barrow was still alive. I remember him passing by me when we went there, and that was when I saw Hacksaw.
But so even like with it being kind of close to how Super Bowl is, it like brought in a lot of celebrities like Muhammad Ali, Mr. T, Cyndi Lauper at the event that helped propel WrestleMania to become a staple in popular culture. Like even
Snooki.
like I'm saying, like even like today, everyone
Donald
everyone-
Trump.
He
Donald
was, yeah.
Trump was
I watched
in
that
the
one. It was the Bobby
WWE.
Lashley versus Umaga match. I watched it.
Umaga,
My
rest
man
in
hit someone
peace.
with a chair, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Vince McMahon, right?
Him and
No,
Vince
he shaved his
McMahon.
head
Well,
Oh.
Vince McMahon and him had to compete to see whoever won.
between Bobby Lashley and Umaga. Trump had
Hold on. They were gonna fight to see who would have to shave their head.
Yeah.
And Vince lost, so Trump had to shave Vince McMahon's head.
When that fight of them rolling around on the ground, and then when Trump was attacking CNN, he tweeted how like he put CNN's face on Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon's head, and he kicks Vince McMahon in the
That
face.
shit was so funny.
I was dying. They were falling a lot of controversy.
Donald
after
Trump
that.
is he's the only president who's ever been a WWE. He won a WWE match.
Yeah.
well,
in a
he.
way.
I don't know,
In a
George
sense.
Washington.
He was
In a
basically like a manager.
sense.
Well, kind of like a manager if you think about it.
If you think about it,
You know
if
he
you
got
just
put your
hella
thinking
cash
caps
from
on.
that.
it really,
and think about it.
it really do be like that though.
Yeah, no cap.
But yeah, like Umaga too. One thing about Umaga, which
Rest in
we'll
peace.
probably get back to him in the future,
I
they
love him.
never talked about him after he passed.
I know they never.
Never talked
well,
about him.
I think it had something to do with his contract. Like he had left on a poor note or something like that. I
It's
can't
so
remember.
sad. I don't know.
It was. I was really upset when Umaga died.
So after WrestleMania,
Keep going.
after WrestleMania, they actually had there was another group. It was the Jim Crockett Promotions, which was like a group, another wrestling group,
Mhm.
like a company that owned a wrestling group, and they created the Great American Bash, which is a pay-per-view like that they use every now and then now. Which, spoiler alert, they get taken by WWE, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
They had trouble matching the success of WWF. So after Ted Turner purchased a majority of their assets, the promotion would become World Championship Wrestling, or WCW. So this is in the 80s.
So this is when you had WCW and the WWF.
Yeah, well, this is just a lead up because they all become one. So this is all the same story.
Right.
Yeah, so this is in the 80s, just talking about them being created as a part of like one of their competitions.
Okay.
So that provided WWF with a competitor until 2001 when WCW and its trademark were purchased by WWF. Spoiler. WrestleMania would become an annual pay-per-view phenomenon being broadcast in nearly 150 countries in almost 20 different languages. It's even today.
Yeah.
Such a big deal.
Yeah.
Such a big deal.
Yeah.
So McMahon's focus on entertainment rather than giving his product a legitimate sports feel, like the policy that became the policy that made the concept of sports entertainment. Because instead of it being like, he didn't broadcast it as like a sporting event. It was like it was just strictly entertainment.
Yeah.
That helped it succeed as much as it did. During the 1980s, Hulk Hogan would cross over to mainstream prominence, presented as an all-American hero. Which, I mean, how's the song go?
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man.
Come on, everybody sing it. Everyone at home, I need you to sing it. But so that part, that was just like a big deal for them. So when he became less of the face, and when he lasted until his departing.
Here you go. Hold on. Sorry. Just to give everybody a.
Just an ad.
Damn.
I love this song.
The sponsors that we have, though, and you're just going to play an ad?
Yeah, the sponsors we have. Oh my God. Never mind. Just keep talking.
Okay.
There we go.
You can't tell me you didn't get just heated when you heard this song.
My monster woke up.
So that's just an example of the song. But so after he left the company in '93, there were other stars in the area too, like Macho Man Randy Savage, Rowdy Piper, Ultimate Warrior, the Honky Tonk Man, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, which his son wrestled more in like the modern era, which we'll get to, and others helped make WWF a financial success in this time period.
Macho Man. What is it?
Hulkamania is just the grain of sand in the desert that is Macho Madness. Yeah.
You do it so good, I swear. I can't do it now. I know I can't do it. I can barely speak. I can barely speak.
Come out.
I can barely
Starts
speak
bleeding
English.
out of your mouth.
I can barely speak English now. So, but yeah, you do it so good. But Hacksaw, to kind of finish this off, leading into the end of the golden era and leading into the next part. Hacksaw Jim Duggan won the first ever Royal Rumble, which is another like huge success.
Royal Rumble is the best.
Like literally, like he just like, let's just have 30 people come down and fight at the same time.
Yes.
I bet.
And it worked. But he won the first ever
Many
one in
Royal
1988. So towards the end of the golden age, Bret Hart of the Hart Foundation began
That's
to
who
break
I'm named
out.
after, by the way.
Really?
Bret Hart.
I didn't know that. He only has one
He
T
has
though.
one T. No,
Yeah,
my
I was
mom
saying he
is
only
always
has
like,
one
no,
T.
he's not. My dad's like, you are. You're that's
In my heart, in my heart, you are, son. But he tried to break out on his own as a singles competitor because tag teams were a big thing in the early 90s to 80s. Like there's tons of different groups that were together. But he had one of his most memorable matches early taking place at SummerSlam in '92 against the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith.
Yeah.
Hart would eventually capture the World Heavyweight Championship from Ric Flair later that year and would win the King of the Ring
Chick
tournament.
stealing, wheeling dealing, private jet.
Literally
flying,
one of the most iconic stars.
limousine riding, son of a gun.
I can do a Ric Flair just by talking. I can just sound just like him.
It doesn't matter if
It's
it's
Chicago,
Chicago,
Illinois,
Illinois, Richmond, Virginia, or Miami, Florida.
You do that one good too, though.
Okay.
You're really good at wrestling.
He said, okay.
Okay.
But so like he would wrestle Ric Flair and win the title at the King of the Ring tournament the following year, leading into the start of the New Generation era. So I know this episode was a little long. You know, it's about an hour and a half right now.
Yeah.
So we kind of pushing it a little bit, but it's full of information. We had some good stuff at the beginning, but
So that's it for.
this is
for
the
part
end.
one.
We're going to end at the start of the New Generation, which leads into
the
like,
Attitude Era.
yeah, this is like the precursor. The New Generation is the precursor to the Attitude Era, which is like the juicy stuff. Everyone
the
loves.
Attitude Era is
It's
the best part
It's
of
the
the
best
WWE.
era. So
So
well, I
many-
hope
That's where you got The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin,
the good. So everyone knows, and your dad when he comes on the show,
those juicy bits of delight. Yeah,
It's
no,
really good.
my dad's probably gonna just be texting and calling me like, "Hey, you got all of this wrong. This is actually what happened."
well, he'll be there, so he'll be like, actually,
yeah, my dad is.
he'll be
an
correcting
expert.
me though. So he'll be looking at me like, actually,
Hey Tucker,
Hey,
you got
Tucker, you're
all that
wrong.
wrong. Actually,
you know, actually, that didn't happen. I watched it.
anyway,
There.
But yeah, so I hope that everyone liked the.
that's the
information.
WWE Part 1. So
The end of the golden era.
we're going to do part 2 next week and then part 3 the week after, and that'll be it. So we're going to do 3 parts. But yeah, we've got plenty of info. I want to shout out All the Rest Music on Instagram at All the Rest. We didn't do that last week, but check them out.
They know us, so we love them.
They gave us the jingle. So, but anyway, we love you guys. Thank you for everything that you've done for us. Like, comment, subscribe.
It all helps.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to me try to speak normal. It's very hard. It should be good. Next week it should be good. Let me try that again. Next week it should be good.
There we go.
And end scene.
End scene.
We love you. Goodbye.